Hi, thanks for joining me. This is my second video for War, Peace, and Ethics, and today we're going to look at Russian allegations that Ukraine is planning to use a dirty bomb somewhere on its territory. And we'll ask the following questions. 1. What is the allegation and who made it? Secondly, what is a false flag? Third, what is and what isn't a dirty bomb? Fourth, has a dirty bomb ever been used? Fifth, is the allegation logical? And finally, if not, then why has the allegation been made? So let's get started.
So, what is the allegation? The Russian government has alleged that Ukraine is planning to explode a so-called dirty bomb somewhere in the country in a way that suggests that Moscow is responsible. Russian media have repeated and amplified the claim. On Telegram, a favorite social media app for influencers and government figures in the former Soviet Union, the news agency RIA Novosti said, according to credible sources in various countries, including Ukraine, the Kiev regime is preparing a provocation on the territory of its country related to the use of a so-called dirty bomb or low-yield nuclear weapon. Now, that's interesting, since dirty bombs and low-yield nuclear weapons are two different things, and we'll explore that in a moment. The purpose of the provocation, says RIA Novosti, is to accuse Russia of using weapons of mass destruction in the Ukrainian theater of operations and thereby launch a powerful anti-Russian campaign in the world aimed at undermining confidence in Moscow. From various sources, it became known that under the leadership of Western countries, Kiev has already begun the practical implementation of this plan. The leadership of the Eastern Mining and Processing Plant, as well as the Kiev Institute for Nuclear Research, was tasked with making the very dirty bomb. Work on it is in the final stage. So the Russians are alleging a classic false flag operation. False flags occur when an actor undertakes something provocative, but in a way that looks as though his opponent was responsible. One conspicuous example was the CIA-sponsored Bay of Pigs invasion of 1961, which involved American bombers painted with the insignia of the Cuban Revolutionary Government. And some extremists have claimed that Sandy Hook elementary school shootings were a false flag in which actors posed as bereaved parents. False flags are thus a potent form of black propaganda. In the case of the Russian accusation, Ukraine would detonate a dirty bomb on its own territory in the hope that Russia would be blamed. Oh, and the following is almost comedic, but as the British analyst Oliver Alexander has pointed out, the map that the Russian authorities have posted indicating Ukrainian plans to use a dirty bomb is exactly the same map that they posted earlier in August, attempting to prove the same thing at a nuclear power plant. Okay, so let's look at the issue of what is and isn't a dirty bomb. First of all, what isn't a dirty bomb? Well, it's not a standard nuclear weapon, and it's not capable of inflicting millions, or in most cases, even hundreds of casualties. Garden-variety nuclear bombs and warheads come in two versions, fission and fusion. Fission, or atomic bombs, require less technical expertise than their fusion cousins, but a degree of industrial and scientific finesse are required to design and assemble. However, even economically undeveloped nations, such as North Korea, can turn out such weapons, given enough political will and by diverting resources from other societal needs. Fission bombs, such as the ones that were dropped on the Japanese cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki in the final days of World War II, get their explosive force from the uncontrolled chain reactions when unstable uranium or plutonium isotopes are compressed very quickly. A small amount of such fissile material yields huge explosions, typically in the 5 to 20 kiloton range, the equivalent explosive power of 5,000 to 20,000 tons of TNT. What about fusion? Fusion warheads, also called thermonuclear warheads or bombs, achieve detonation due to a different method, whereby the nuclei of a light element such as hydrogen fuse to form a heavier element. This process releases enormous amounts of energy as a result. If an atomic, that is, fission, weapon releases destructive energy of 5 to 15,000 tons of TNT, fusion bombs have a destructive power measured in millions, or megatons. Okay, so what's a dirty bomb? A dirty bomb is a type of RDD, or radiological dispersal device. It's a primitive weapon containing radioactive materials which are dispersed by conventional explosives such as dynamite. The radioactive materials can be sourced from hospitals, research facilities, or industrial sites. People in the immediate area of the explosion might be exposed to very small doses of radiation, but in general there is no danger of widespread deaths. The major hazard would be the conventional explosive, not the radioactive materials. And those most in danger would be the individuals assembling the bomb, who would be exposed to the radioactive components. So the chief advantage to a dirty bomb is psychological. Does Ukraine have the capability? No doubt. The components are not difficult to acquire. Has a dirty bomb ever been used? The short answer is no, although on a few occasions it's been tried or at least planned. In late 1997, during the chaos of the First Chechen War, rebel leader Shamil Basayev got in touch with a Russian reporter to tell her that a quantity of radioactive cesium-137 had been buried in a park outside Moscow. It was found and safeguarded by Russian authorities. Basayev was the mastermind of or linked to numerous crimes against civilians, including the beheading of Georgian captives during unrest in Abkhazia, the Budynovsk hospital crisis in 1995, which led to the deaths of at least 129 civilians, and the 2004 Beslan school massacre, in which over 300 civilians died, most of them children. I can't think of a tragedy that caused greater sorrow in modern Russia than that horrific, inhumane attack. In 1998, Russian authorities in Chechnya discovered a container filled with radioactive materials connected to a high explosive trigger hidden near a railway line not far from Grozny, the Chechen capital. Shamil Basayev was thought to be involved. And then there was the case of Dhiren Barot. Mr. Barot was an Indian-born British citizen who, although raised as a Hindu, converted to Islam when he was 20. Having been trained by al-Qaeda, Mr. Barot wrote a book which included tips on how to kill Indian soldiers and later authored a memo on using explosives made from commonly available components. In the year 2000, he traveled to the United States and began scouting possible targets for a dirty bomb attack, including the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank. In 2004, he was arrested with a number of co-conspirators in the United Kingdom on a variety of counts. He later pleaded guilty to conspiracy to commit murder. Is the Russian allegation logical? In my view, not really. Ukrainian forces have been pushing back Russian units since their autumn offensive began a few weeks ago. So why would they detonate a dirty bomb? The Russians have not supplied an argument except to allege that a false flag dirty bomb would turn world opinion against Russia. That ship has sailed long ago, however. So the assertion makes little sense and thus fails the Spock test. Why has the allegation been made? Russian desperation has been the prevailing theme in this war for some time, and if they were the ones to use a dirty bomb and then blame Ukraine in an effort to stage a false flag themselves, that is, a sort of double false flag, then, by their thinking, Ukraine would suffer a loss of support, and more critically, their supply of Western weapons would dry up. Further, Russia would have an excuse for a higher level of combat intensity, perhaps involving greater use of air power, which is what we saw during the Second Chechen War. Whether they can manage this in the face of sophisticated Western anti-aircraft weapons is another issue. Russian use of Iranian drones has been the preferred route as of recent weeks, no doubt in part because of the risks involved in a conventional air campaign. To sum up, while Ukraine, and Russia for that matter, have the capability to assemble and detonate a dirty bomb, it is highly unlikely that Ukraine has planned to use one. Since they are prevailing in this war, it just doesn't make sense. The more rational explanation is that the Kremlin has rather ineptly A. invented this crisis and B. blamed the Ukrainians. By now, 5 or 6 days later, even the Russians must realize that they blew it. The use of a dirty bomb by anyone is therefore very unlikely. That's all for now. We'll have more on the Ukraine war and other topics in international affairs in the coming days. If you like this video, be sure to hit the like and subscribe button and consider a recurring donation. Just go to About Me and hit the Patreon, Buy Me a Coffee, or PayPal links. Thanks very much.